He didn't mean it seriously, not even for a moment. It was one of those light, teasing remarks he often made just to see her smile, the kind of joke that slipped naturally into their conversations because they were comfortable with each other. That evening, as they sat together on the worn-out couch in his apartment, sharing takeout noodles and laughing about something silly she had said, he casually joked, "Honestly, would you like to move in with me?" He expected her to roll her eyes, smack his arm playfully, and call him ridiculous. But instead, she paused for half a second. A tiny second that he almost didn't notice. Then she laughed, shaking her head, and the moment ended like any other joke between them. At least, that's what he thought. After she left that night, he didn't think much of it. They had been friends for years, close enough to finish each other's sentences, tease each other about everything, and show up unannounced at each other's doors. But lately, something had been shifting between them. Neither dared to name it, but it lingered quietly between their smiles, their silences, their accidental touches. He tried to ignore it. She seemed to ignore it too. They were both good at pretending. But all that pretending cracked the next morning. When he woke up to the sound of someone knocking, he dragged himself out of bed, still half asleep. When he opened the door and saw her standing there, hair uncombed, a nervous smile on her lips, and eyes that looked strangely serious, he felt something within him jolt awake. "Hey," he said, suddenly aware that he wasn't prepared for visitors, or reality, this early in the day. "Everything okay?" She hesitated. "Can I come in?" He stepped aside immediately. She walked in slowly, almost cautiously, as if entering a place where something important might happen. He could tell something was different. She didn't talk right away. She didn't joke like usual. Instead, she stood near the window, playing with her fingers, something she only did when she was anxious. "Did something happen?" he finally asked, trying to keep his voice gentle. She took a deep breath, turned toward him, and asked softly, "Is your offer still real?" He blinked. "My offer," she swallowed. "You know, what you said last night. About moving in with you." He stared at her, trying to understand what was happening. "I was joking," he said quietly. "I thought you knew." "I know," she whispered. "But I need to know if it could be real." Her voice cracked slightly, and that was when everything finally made sense to him. The pause last night, the way she had looked at him before she laughed. The reason she was here now, early in the morning, nervous but hopeful. She wasn't asking for a place to stay. She was asking if she mattered to him. She was asking if the unspoken feelings between them were real, or if they were just her imagination. He took a step toward her. "Why does it matter?" he asked softly, though the answer was already pounding in his chest. She looked down, her voice barely audible. "Because I might have spent the whole night hoping you meant it." For a moment, time stopped. The morning light curved around her, turning her uncertainty into something heartbreakingly sincere. He had never seen her like this, open, vulnerable, risking everything. And suddenly, he felt guilty for ever joking about something so close to the truth he had been too afraid to admit. He walked closer. "I didn't mean to confuse you," he said. "But, if you're asking whether I'd want you here, really here, then yes. The offer could be real. If you want it to be." She looked up at him, startled. "You mean that?" He nodded slowly. "More than I meant anything in a long time." She breathed out shakily, a smile trembling at the corners of her lips. In her eyes, he saw relief, hope, and something else, something deeper that she had been hiding just like he had. But she wasn't done. "I don't want to move in because I need a place," she whispered. "I want to move in because I don't like pretending anymore. Not with you." His heart clenched at her honesty. "Then we stop pretending," he said. He reached out and gently took her hands. She didn't pull away. Her fingers, cold from the morning air, tightened around his as if she had been waiting for this moment far longer than she dared to admit. The tension that had lived quietly between them for years finally dissolved, replaced by something warm and certain. "Is it crazy?" she asked with a shy smile. "All this, from one silly joke?" "Maybe," he said, "but good things often start that way." She laughed, softly, beautifully. And for the first time, Their laughter didn't hide anything. They stood there, holding hands, no longer afraid of what they felt. No longer pretending, no longer dancing around the truth. The joke had simply opened a door, one they both secretly wanted to walk through. And now, finally, they did. Her serious response turns a casual moment into the beginning of a deeper relationship. He had always been the playful one between them, quick with jokes, faster with sarcasm, and always using humor as a shield when emotions got too close. She, on the other hand, carried her feelings quietly, like delicate things she protected from the world. Their friendship worked perfectly that way. He teased, she laughed. He joked, she rolled her eyes. He made fun of everything, she took nothing personally. But sometimes, in the cracks between their laughter, something unspoken pulsed. They both felt it. Neither talked about it. One evening, after a long day, they were sitting on the park bench where they often met. The sky glowed orange, birds circled lazily overhead, and the world felt soft. She leaned her head back, eyes closed, enjoying the last bit of sunlight. "Someday," he said jokingly, nudging her shoulder, "you're going to get tired of living alone and decide to move in with me." It was the kind of joke he made all the time. Light, harmless, tossed casually into the air like a paper airplane. But this time, something shifted. She didn't laugh immediately. Instead, she opened her eyes slowly and looked at him, really looked at him. Her gaze wasn't playful or teasing, it was searching, steady, deeper than he expected. "Would you actually want that?" she asked softly. He froze. The joke fell flat between them, suddenly heavier than intended. "What?" he said, trying to mask his surprise with a grin. "You mean living with me and dealing with my terrible cooking? You'd regret it." But she didn't smile. Her voice was calm, serious in a way he wasn't used to hearing. "I'm asking you if you meant it, even a little." The question lodged in his chest. He wasn't prepared for it. He wasn't prepared for her seriousness, her honesty, the vulnerability in her eyes. She wasn't asking for fun, she was asking for the truth, something he had avoided giving for a long time. "Why do you ask?" he said quietly. She hesitated. "Because sometimes your jokes sound like the things you're too scared to say." He felt the air shift around them. She wasn't wrong. Many of his jokes were truths he didn't dare voice directly. Jokes were safer. Jokes didn't change things. Jokes didn't break friendships. But now the joke was gone, stripped bare by her question. He looked at her hands resting on her lap, fingers intertwined as if she were holding herself together. She had always been composed, gentle, steady. Yet here she was, asking the hardest question with the softest voice. "Do you want the truth?" he asked. She nodded. And suddenly, he felt the weight of all the unspoken feelings pressing forward. Years of glances, almost confessions, and moments that stretched too long to be just friendly. "When I said it," he began slowly, "I didn't think I meant it. But when you asked me if I did, I realized maybe I do." Her breath hitched, but she stayed quiet. "I think," he continued, "that having you around every day, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world." She let out a tiny, nervous laugh. "That's your way of saying yes." He smiled, softly this time, without hiding. "That's my way of saying I've been trying not to want more than friendship because I didn't know if you felt the same." She exhaled shakily, her shoulders relaxing as if a weight had been lifted. "I've been trying not to want more too," she admitted. "And when you said that, even as a joke, it felt like you weren't pretending anymore." He looked at her again, seeing her differently, not as the girl he joked with, but as the woman he had been quietly falling for. "Your serious response," he said gently, "kind of scared me." "Why?" "Because it made the joke real." She gave him a small smile, one filled with hope, hesitation, and something deeper. Maybe it was meant to be real. The sun dipped lower behind them, casting long shadows. The world grew quieter, as if giving them space to breathe, to think, to feel. He reached out slowly, almost unsure, and took her hand. Her fingers tightened around his without hesitation. "You know," he said with a soft chuckle, "for someone who's always serious, you really know how to make a moment dramatic." She laughed, the sound light and warm. And for someone who jokes too much, you finally said something honest. They sat there, hand in hand, letting the silence say what words couldn't. The boundaries they had built for years were dissolving, not with grand declarations, but with a simple, honest conversation. A casual moment had become a turning point. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. He squeezed her hand. "Now," he said, "we stop pretending." She leaned her head on his shoulder, and he rested his cheek against her hair. For the first time, nothing felt uncertain. Her serious response had turned a simple joke into the beginning of something real, something gentle, brave, and beautiful. A deeper relationship, born not from a plan, but from a moment that mattered.